This is a terrible idea. I have back pain, and sitting on the floor like that would completely wreck my back. There's no back support, it's not ergonomic, I would not recommend this to anyone. That's what skeptics of floor sitting would usually say. Here's the contradiction. Most people have been sitting on conventional, more ergonomic furniture for most of their lives. So if sitting on ergonomic furniture was so safe, how did their pain develop in the first place? There are really no incentives for us to convince you to sit on the floor. But for anyone with an open mind, we do hope that the ideas we share can introduce new and different perspectives on what makes a truly healthy workspace. Hopefully, after watching this video, you'll see the issues with hyperfixating on ergonomics, the logic behind why sitting on the floor works, and maybe you even consider including it as part of a rotation in your sitting arrangement. Let me start by stating what could be a controversial opinion. I think ergonomics is overrated. And before anyone starts attacking me with the expensive ergonomic chairs, let me explain. Saying ergonomics is overrated doesn't mean that we think it's not important or that it doesn't have any value, because of course it's important. It just means that we may have given ergonomics more importance than it deserves. Ergonomics is all about improving the productivity, safety, and most importantly, comfort of how we humans interact with our work environment. To make an environment more ergonomic, some assumptions have to be made about how users would interact with it. For a normal office workspace, a fair assumption is that a productive worker is expected to be seated in front of the computer for hours at a time. The goal with ergonomics is to think, how can we make this safe and comfortable for the user? But when you think about it, wouldn't that mean that by making the workspace more conducive and comfortable for prolonged sitting sessions, ergonomics actually encourages us to be sedentary, which is the one thing we know is extremely harmful for us. Instead of expecting users to be sedentary, why can't we assume that users don't have to be sedentary? So a conflict arises if we look at floor sitting through the conventional lens of ergonomics. Some viewers mistakenly assume that we only sit in the typical cross-legged position on our floor chairs. But we've said it multiple times before, sitting at a floor desk in one position for an entire day would completely defeat the purpose and could very well be more unhealthy than sitting an entire day with an ergonomic setup. As the saying goes, the best sitting position is the next position. The whole point of having our workspace on the floor with numerous next positions we can sit in is that we're less likely to be stuck in one position for an extended period of time. Our bodies are constantly shifting and instinctively gravitating towards the next position in search of comfort. Too many people dismiss floor sitting from the get-go because they think that that would mean it's uncomfortable. But sitting on the floor isn't inherently uncomfortable. If we've been standing all day and there are no chairs for us to rest on, we will all find comfort in sitting on the floor. We sit on the ground when we're relaxing, having a picnic. But one may argue, we're talking about workspaces, not picnics. And that's a fair point. While many find working on the floor to be perfectly comfortable, realistically, most of us would consider sitting on an ergonomic chair to be more comfortable. When people say sitting on the floor looks uncomfortable, I think what they're really saying is that it will be a downgrade in comfort compared to what they're already used to. And in most cases, people just want as much comfort as they can get. The issue is, comfort isn't always good for us. Should you ride the escalator or walk the stairs? One is more comfortable, but the other is often recommended as the healthier thing to do. Should we laze in bed until noon or go for a run on a Sunday morning? One is cozy and comfortable, but the other is objectively better for our bodies. Comfort isn't always good for us. That's why I think we should broaden our perspectives and understand that there's more than one solution to our sitting problem. There's a time and place for comfort, and there's a place for educated discomfort. Exercise, for example, is essentially educated discomfort. Sitting on the floor, when done properly, is educated discomfort. While ergonomics try to answer, How can we make it safe and comfortable when working in a sedentary position? Floor sitting asks, how can we avoid being sedentary in the first place? Ideally, both sides can work together hand in hand for the ideal solution. But in isolation, each has its pros and cons and carries its own risks. On one hand, floor sitting can feel like an unfamiliar risk. It doesn't fit into the conventional idea of a healthy workspace, which brings unfounded fears. What if I blow out my knees getting up from the floor? What if I sit cross-legged for too long that my legs won't straighten again? If you're too worried about the imaginary downsides, we also give up on any potential upsides. On the other hand, we have the familiar risk of being sedentary. The dangers of being sedentary are well documented, but it's also a slow and silent killer. And because its effects seem so distant and unthreatening, it creates an illusion of harmlessness, which makes it easy for us to turn a blind eye to its dangers. So at the end of the day, the question is, which risk do you want to take? Accept the fate of being sedentary, along with the inevitable effects of too much comfort, or will you be mildly unconventional and add a healthy dose of educated discomfort to your life? Another example of educated discomfort is learning new things. Recently, after much procrastination, I finally made the switch to a different video editing software, so I sought help from today's sponsor, Skillshare. Incompetence is not a nice feeling, but that's what it can feel like when you have to relearn video editing with a new interface and new workflows. Whether you're trying filmmaking for the first time or learning a new piece of software like I was, Skillshare's Learning Paths feature, which are curated collections of classes for mastering specific skills, can be a good way to go about it. If you want a step-by-step on how to use the editor that I switched to, you should check out the Discover DaVinci Resolve Learning Path. I'm sure you're quite familiar with Skillshare by now, but they are the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry experts in the fields of film, photography, design, and more. The first 500 people to use our link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so use it to learn something new today. Anyway, sitting isn't the only familiar risk we've been turning a blind eye to. If you want to know more about another threat most of us have been ignoring, then watch this video next. We'll see you again soon.